So I just
You want
went ahead and hit recording so I can send you the recording later.
you want me to share my screen, or you
Yeah,
want?
here, let me go ahead and enable that.
Okay,
There you go.
so let me go with this one. And then here's prop stream.
What tools were you using before? Were you using PropStream, or how were you doing your researches for houses and what have you?
So I had prop stream for a lot of years, and then last year I canceled it. Last year I mean, at this point, I'm not doing too much marketing, which is a bad thing, and I should get back into it. But it's more word of mouth and networking with people. They just send me houses, and if I like them, I'll buy them or whatnot. But I did use PropStream, and I marketed. I did some virtual wholesaling as well in Florida, Orlando area, in Tampa. So I did download 10,000 records every month from PropStream just to cold calling, and I had some VAs. That really didn't turn out to be that great. I got burnt out there virtually, and I canceled everything. Rather to stick here in my market.
I don't know if it's better to be real small or real big, but Jay, who I had mentioned quite a few times, and he did the 57 properties last year. He had a team of 11 people, and he downsized it where I believe it's just him.
Yeah,
And I had two VAs helping me full time until recently, until about 6 weeks ago. And I'm finding by getting back in there and doing it more myself, we're even doing better.
yeah, I do like that. Just one or two people, and I like to do deals with others here locally, but only people that I really am comfortable with. But anyhow, this is, I don't know if you can see my screen now.
Yeah, I can.
So PropStream, if I go to my county, I don't know if you can search two counties at a time, but I'll do one
Yeah, I don't think you can.
county. That's my county.
And that's the total amount, total properties is 42,000.
Yeah, in my county. So this is including Hattiesburg and Petal. I live over here in Petal, but all this. And then so my county, and we have Forest County, and Lamar is all this. It's a little bit more, yeah.
A
But
little
anyway,
more.
Forest. So if I go to filters and I do vacant
Yeah,
land,
you can click vacant land there. And so now it's going to bring you down that 42,000 down to about 13,000.
13, yeah. And then I come here and go to individual.
Yeah, if I can market to just individuals, I will.
Yeah.
But if my list is so small, I could add back in, maybe I buy a property myself and I own one property and it's my land family LLC. It's like an individual.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder to skip, trace.
Okay.
But if you go ahead and click on, you've got and if you have a size of property you want, on the right-hand side, it says lot size, and you may or you may not have a size you
Yeah,
want.
I have no idea what is good or not.
And it depends. If I want to do a deal now, I'll search expired MLS. And the reason for that is I know everyone that, yeah, click MLS. And we'll just go through the process and click on show more. And then click on failed, top row. Yeah, failed. And now let's see how many you have on your list. So it got real small.
It's because again, it's non-disclosure, so MLS really don't report
Yeah.
much here. So I can't go with even number of bedrooms, and it's not accurate.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's my
Yeah.
issue here.
It's good and it's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad because it's hard to get the information, but it's good if you can get the information better than everybody else.
Yeah,
Then you
because
have.
nobody else is doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I go ownership, individual, now this shows up because it's right there in the public record, if it's a trust or not. So that will show up. And it went to 8,000.
Then you could go to right above where you clicked individual. It says years of ownership. So let's just put it, here's Henry. We got a few other people joining us here.
Okay. Deals to review, then that's fine. We can stop.
We're good. We have plenty of time. Aaron, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good to see you. So I'm here with Raphael, and we're just looking at his county and kind of looking at building a list. We're going through the information. So we're just going to go through that process. And years of ownership, let's just put minimum of 10 years. And so now we're just massaging the numbers and just seeing.
212.
Yeah, so it's pretty small, or you can go to 5. And again, we're just tweaking it. And
6.
so a perfect world would be you've got a list of individuals that live out of the area that have owned the property for a long period of time. They're never going to use it. But sometimes our list gets too small and we just massage the numbers and see what kind of list we can come up with.
Let me go 0 here real quick. Let's see. So individuals out of state, that's 866.
Yeah. And so now put in 5 years and see what happens.
40.
Yeah, so it went way down. But one thing that might not be in the data is how long they've owned the property.
Yeah.
And so that just makes it a little bit more of a challenge. Let's see.
I'm thinking take the ownership out. That way it give us a little more.
Yeah. And so it's just, we have, I don't know, 80 fields or whatever we can sort by. And
Yeah.
so we're just manipulating them and seeing what's available. So we can, maybe we don't want $1 million lots. So under value or assessed value, we can put a filter in there. So I typically go assessed land value, and this will vary by county. So a $20,000 property where you are may be assessed at $1,000, and a $20,000 property where I am may be assessed at $10,000. It varies by county. But just go ahead and click on 10. And again, we're see what happened to the numbers there. It went to 0.
0. I don't think that's reported here. Let's see. Yeah.
So it probably doesn't have it, but if it doesn't have it there, then what I'll go over to maybe
I can't search for a high equity, low equity list for houses here because it doesn't report it. It's a non-disclosure state, and that's
so it definitely makes it a little bit more challenging. And one thing about land mortgage info there, over 99% of the properties that I deal with, they do not have mortgages. It's not typical for vacant land. Maybe if you're doing very expensive properties or they're large acreage, then maybe the lending institution will make a loan on it, but they're not typically going to make a loan on a $10,000 property.
Right. Okay, free and clear. Yeah, almost all of them.
Yeah, they're almost all of them are free and clear. So it's another reason I like the product is I don't have to deal with banks and mortgage companies and what have you to worry about payoffs on loans.
Yeah. That's 800. That's a pretty good list.
If you go ahead and click view, just view all, and then after I do that, I just take a sample and start looking at what's available before I go ahead and buy a list or download a list. So if you clicked on one of those records, yeah, just anyone, then now I'm just seeing what information is available, but I can see it looks like an individual owns the property and the mailing address is out of state. And a few other things that you can see as you scroll down a little bit. It's vacant residential. I can see the next one down, what it's assessed at.
This is not even, it's 0.10 acres. That's nothing.
Yeah, and you look at one line down, it's assessed, at, I don't know, about $5,000.
Yeah.
And you can scroll down a little bit further, and you can see they acquired it in 2022.
Okay.
And then if you scroll back up, now where we clicked on property details, you can look at the pictures of it. Click on the
picture.
Yeah, and then we can get an idea. So this property, when you see pictures like this one was on the multiple listing. And then if you close that, now where it said property detail, click on MLS details. And what we can see, it's currently active. It's currently active for 10,000. It's been on the market for almost 500 days. So now you have a seller that's been on the market for 500 days. It's been listed for $10,000. They live out of state. And what I'm really doing, I'm just gathering if we were interested in this property, I'm gathering as much information as I can. But what I could see was they purchased it in 2023. No, that's the listing. But if we click,
2022.
pardon me?
In 2022, they purchased it.
Yeah, 2022. But we don't know what they purchased it for. But what may have happened, was it an arm's length transaction, or was maybe the property gifted to them? So if it was a quick claim deed, meaning that the mom signed it over to the son, and now the son's got it, what he gets every year, he lives in Florida, what he gets every year is a tax bill.
Yeah.
So it does make it a little more of a challenge, but also where we clicked on MLS sales,
MLS sales.
all the way over to the right, same line, all the way over to the right. Click on linked properties, go over to the right. Keep going. Yeah. And so now I can see what else do they own. So yesterday we would do one, and I think it came up they own 38 properties. I'm dealing with more of a professional. So now we know here's someone that owns one property. They live out of state. They acquired it in 2022. We don't know for how much. It's been listed for 500 days for $10,000. These people most likely do not want this property.
Yeah.
So where you clicked on linked properties on that same line, click on comparable and nearby listings. And if it's a very rural area, sometimes there just aren't any. But here, what we can see, we see ones here in green, and if you scroll down, you also see one in blue. The green ones are county records, and the blue ones are the MLS detail.
Okay.
So most of these just sold not on the MLS. But what you can do, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, and then there's going to be a gray bar. Usually you can scroll over to the right, and it's going to open up that green area, and you can see how far away. The far right column will be the distance that these properties are from your subject property. And there's typically a gray bar down there where you can scroll the page all the way over to the right. I don't see that.
Yeah, I don't. To the right.
Yeah, there's typically a bar down there, just like how you scroll from top to bottom. You can also scroll from left to right, and I don't see that function there.
Okay.
But what's in that right-hand column out of these is the distance. So when I'm looking at the comps, ideally I'm going to find comps that are in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
And maybe because the page is minimized, it might look different on your desktop. I don't know.
Okay.
And so then I'm looking at them, and out of these properties, it appears that very few are selling on the MLS, but what you don't have are sales prices.
No.
But with you having access to the MLS, I may run an MLS search also.
Yeah, definitely.
And this property is on the MLS. You may have more MLS details that are available here.
Okay.
Being non-disclosure, Texas is non-disclosure. It could be a liability, but it can also be an asset, because if it's so difficult to get the information, the sellers typically don't have less of an idea what the property's worth. And then if this was one we wanted, then I would do the same thing. I'd go through Redfin, Zillow, PropStream, MLS. And this is an example of one property within your search that you did.
Yeah, I like it. Thank you. Yes.
I'm going to also do, and I've done it before, just a 1-hour class on PropStream Mastery, and I'll go ahead and record it and put that in the library and share that with everyone.
Okay.
So we can go ahead and continue the filters, or we can go ahead and look at your other county as well.
Yeah, we can. Lamar.
So on that top search bar right there, you can search by city, state, address, county, or you can put in up to 5 zip codes.
Okay.
So now we still have the same filters in there.
Yeah, so this one's only 431.
Yeah, but using the same, your filters that you put in for the previous county are still there. We didn't erase them. So it says unique properties. It's 293, I believe.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah, I got
And
it.
so then I just go through the same process. And again, being non-disclosure, one thing that's good, and it's not available in all counties. Some counties, for property address, it just says unknown.
Yeah,
Yours is actually given the property addresses, so the post office has assigned an address to that property, which makes it easier. So yeah, we click on one and same thing, we look at the details. I can look at the photos, and with an address, it's easy to Google Earth it. But looking at it, it looks like maybe a husband and wife, I don't know, they live in a different state.
yeah, in Louisiana,
And I'm looking at,
10 acres.
yeah, this is 10 acres. And so we have the ability to sort by acreage or not. So typically I'm searching up to about an acre. But you can sort by any size that you want. And so same thing, I'm looking at the assessed value on this is nothing. And the market value is nothing. It doesn't mean that it's not worth a lot of money. It's just how the county has that information. And if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, we may see when they acquired it.
That's all it goes.
Yeah. So again, this one, they tried to, when it says length of ownership, it's blank.
Yeah. We don't get a lot of information. All this is, yeah.
It's not like Escambia County where I am.
No, you got
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
But I'd click on MLS details, that bar there, and just see. And it failed, but it was only exposed to the market for very few days. So it wasn't a true failed listing where they
Huh.
tried to sell it for 4 months or 6 months that was exposed to the market. So for some reason they pulled it off. But you can see the terms there, or the time frame. So it looks like they tried to sell it quite some time ago. And again, they lowered the price. It says price adjustment. But there would be a realtor there you could talk to and get some insight. But this realtor may be willing to cooperate with you or not because she represented the actual sellers you want to negotiate with.
Yeah. That's the only thing they have.
Yeah, linked properties. I might look at tax information. And the amount of the taxes might give you some insight what the property is worth. Because you may get ones where they're paying $10 a year, and you may get one where they're paying $900 a year, even though you don't have a good assessed value. You can see based on the taxes, you can get an indicator. Is it a real cheap property or not?
Yeah.
So if I wanted to, one other filter that I could do here is go ahead and close that and go to filters, go to MLS. And then let's click on show all and put sold, click sold. And maybe we put, and it showed very few. At least there's a few realtors we could talk to about what's going on in a specific market. And they might be comparables and they might not. But one thing I noticed when we did Hattiesburg, at first, there was like 42,000 properties, which is not a huge amount. So when I do Escambia County, I don't know, there's 150,000 or so. So I've got a larger pool
Yeah.
to potentially target.
Yeah. So I have to include at least 3 or 4 counties to get to that amount, probably.
Yeah. And what we did on the first day, I pulled the census information and I pulled Florida, and I could see what the population is of all the counties in Florida.
Yeah.
So you can pull that census link and click
Yeah,
on it.
we're about 50,000 here, 40 something actually. Yeah.
So it doesn't mean don't do it. Sometimes it's nice to work a market. I work a market area where I live, which is an advantage. But if I worked a market area that had 12,000 people in it, the pool of people I can market to. It doesn't mean I can't do it. It's
Yeah.
just not the best scenario.
I also look just because the non-disclosure and the amount of people here, since you recommended more. Mobile, Alabama, it's about 2 hours from here, an hour and a half or something. So that I can find a lot more information. And I did some search on PropStream and Zillow and Redfin, and it's way easier because all the numbers are there. And
Yeah,
the price is higher.
I just do Escambia County, but if I really wanted to expand, and what I'm doing is very scalable, I just choose not to do that at this point in my life. Mobile County would be I would do Tallahassee, Florida, that's the state capital. I would
Mm,
do maybe Mobile. It's an hour from here, but I would just go through, look at the population, use Redfin, Zillow, PropStream, and just look at the data, go to the appraiser's website and see, okay, this is an area that I'm very comfortable with. I can build a good pool, a good list. I have good
yeah.
tools available. That would be the process I'd go through.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do some more research. It's again about 2 hours from here. I just have all the connections here already. I got the title company, I got everything.
Yeah,
Uh,
and part of it depends, how many deals do you want to do? Maybe it's 2 a year. It's probably more than adequate. Maybe you want to do 3 a month. It might not be an adequate market.
yeah, at least 2 or 3 a month will be great.
But if you want, why don't we pull up Mobile?
Yeah. So this is, I don't know if I might have downloaded already or saved it, but this is the county I was looking at.
Okay.
I think I might have it pulled up. I'm sorry, Aaron, I don't know if you have anything, you can go ahead and jump in. I don't want to hog this call here.
It's all teamwork.
Yeah, it's fine. Keep going.
Baldwin.
Yeah, you still have your filters in there, or you could clear it and just start over.
Okay.
You're gonna have to type it back
Oh,
in there. Yeah,
yeah.
or just click down there. And now look now look, there's 170,000 properties.
Yeah, this one is more similar to yours. 37 vacant lands. Then we can go here. Now, as far as lot size, I don't know what is good in that area, so I'll have to
Yeah.
do more research. You said you want to do MLS failed.
Yeah.
Now, with that, I have a question. MLS failed, right? It's been on the MLS and with a realtor, and it did not sell. So like, why am I trying to put it back on the MLS?
I'll show you. So it says MLS status date on the left. And so
Uh,
what I'll click on from, and here I'll go back about 8 years.
8 years. Okay.
Or you can
Oh,
just click on the date and just change the year.
oh, gotcha.
Just go back about 8 years. And this is just a guideline.
Okay.
And then click on one of the numbers there, January, whatever. And then go back about 2 years. The reason I'm doing that, I don't want someone that tried to sell their property and just failed yesterday. So
Yeah.
these people, it failed. Okay. And then we're going to add another filter. And so we got 1,000 properties. And down
Yeah.
below where you put the date, it says days on the market. And type in minimum, type in 60. And now let's see what happens to that number. And so now what we have is people that tried to sell their property on the MLS from 2 years ago to about 8 years ago. And those are just guidelines. We put it was on the market for 60 days because we don't want people that just tried to sell it for 2 days and they changed their mind. So now what we have is 400 people that tried to sell their property on the MLS. It's vacant land and it failed. And it was on the market for at least 60 days. The good thing that we know is all these 439 people want to sell their property or did want to sell their property.
Some point, yeah.
So now it's not on the MLS anymore. But also, if you click on one of those links on the right, click on anyone,
No, the link.
or yeah, just click on a property and click on, and now see this property subsequently sold. The people, because we went from 2 years ago to 8 years ago.
I know, yeah. So let's do another one.
We can put another filter, or we can put another filter in here.
Yeah, this one too. 1 year.
Yeah, so let's go back to filters and click on ownership, owner information and occupancy. And now it says years of ownership. Put in minimum 8 years. Now let's see what happens to our list. So the list got smaller, but everyone on this list tried to sell it on the MLS from 2 years ago to 8 years ago, and they still own the property. So now if we click on a record, and anyone, and so we can see that they've owned it for 9 years. They tried to sell it on the MLS and it failed. And you can get details. Do they live in the area? Do they live out of the area? But if you click on MLS details on over to the left, and now we know how long it was on the market, what they tried to sell it for. And typically the reason I go from 2 years ago to 8 years ago or longer, if over the last 2 years, if the prices were going up, there's some appreciation in there. So say 2 years ago, they tried to sell it for 10,000 and it's in Pensacola. Now it's worth 20,000. I just offer them about what they tried to sell it for, and I'm capitalizing on that appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
And we can put more filters in there. We can put price filters. We can put lot size filters. But when we went into Baldwin County, it had, I don't know, 170,000 records. You can have a larger pool to draw from. The larger pool you could draw from, you can put in more filters and refine it to people that need to sell more.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
So typically, if my suggestion is to people when they want to do a deal now, I search the failed MLS listings. The good thing is I know everyone on my list wants to sell or did want to sell a few years ago, the price they wanted to sell for. And then I'll just go through those, sitting in front of the TV, watching the football game or whatever. And I go through those and I'm prospecting. And then a lot of times what I'll find is, oh, this guy, this is a good one. They need to sell. So usually when I have a list like that, I can typically find maybe 4 or 5 properties that I can make offers on.
And just because I'm trying to, if I go to Alabama, should I just get all this like attorneys and boots on ground first, or what?
Yeah, first thing I do is I build the list. I wouldn't worry about all that. Finding a title company is usually pretty easy.
Okay.
It's like when a lot of times people start a company and they think, I got to get my LLC and I got to get my business cards and I've got to get my printing, and they're doing everything getting set up, but doing the business. So my thought is do the business. That's the first bite of the elephant, and then we can take those other bites.
Okay.
And then I would go in there. The initial peak looks like it's a good market. We could go into PropStream and sort by people that have owned for 10 years or longer that live out of state. That's a different list. This would be a failed MLS listing list. Another one could be people that live out of state.
Yeah.
Then the next one I'd go to, and in Florida, I had a website bookmarked. It was called floridataxauctions.com that we went through. And when I put in a specific county, it showed me all the county links that were associated. So I might have the recorder link, the tax assessor link, the property appraiser link. And I don't know if that exists for Alabama, or I can just go there and Google it and say Baldwin County real estate appraiser, and find the government site and then go through that. And when you go through the course, I believe it's week 2. At the bottom, I have how you do a search in Escambia County on the appraiser site and how you do a search in Hillsborough County, Florida on the appraiser site, and just take those principles and apply how I do those searches, apply that to Baldwin County. And so basically we get to the appraiser site, we want to go left to top to bottom and click on every link that's possible, so we understand what information is available.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'll spend the next week or so doing some homework on this county and see if I want to market there or maybe stick to mine.
You can hop on a Zoom.
Yeah. Okay.
But Aaron, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, we're here for you. If you have questions or property you want to look at, it's whatever I can do to accommodate you.
Okay, I have a couple questions. One is, I remember you had an easy way of finding builders in a county in Florida, and I was wanting to be reminded about that. I actually have a wetlands property that I mistakenly bought a while back. That's
let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, we did this yesterday. Okay, it's nahb.org, National Association of Home Builders.org. And I get to their main page here, and when I scroll down, here is find your local home builders association. So I just put in Florida. And when I did that, or you could put in Tampa Bay, Florida or whatever, but here's HBA of West Florida, Home Builders Association of West Florida. And that's where I am. Their site's not working right now. So when I did that, we'll try it again. When I do that, what it does is take me to the website for this Home Builders Association, my local chapter. And then it takes me, and here's the cities here in Florida. What area are you thinking?
Osceola County, Kissimmee.
Okay, let's see if that will work.
I think it has an S in
No wonder.
it.
I'm not sure. What would be the largest city there?
Kissimmee,
Pardon me?
Kissimmee, Kissimmee.
I'm not sure if it's just not working.
The next largest is Orlando.
Okay. Okay, Greater Orlando Home Builders Association. So now I'm in the local chapter there, and I'm not being totally familiar with this, but here's directory. And let's look for, sometimes we'll have builders in here. Here's builders. So not being familiar with the website, and there's 137 builders, and we can sort, but let's say we click on a builder, and then typically I'll have, I think I clicked on the map. So here's the Wetterman homes, and some of them might be national builders or some might be local. This is Kurt Wetterman. So that's a way that I can find them, and then the way that I reach out to them, if that's one that may make sense. I just said, I introduced myself, Mr. Wetterman. I see that you're building in the Deltona area. I said, I'm Michael Robertson. I said, I buy lots substantially below market, and I like to pass on the savings to my builders. I said, all right, is that something you might be interested in, finding vacant land at a favorable price? And we just have a dialogue, and then I find out what kind of product you build, what size lots are you working for. There's 137 builders here. Where I am, there's 81 builders, and I've had that conversation, and I work with 11 of them. So for 11 of them, they are clients of mine. So going back a bit to the National Association of Home Builders, and it said find your local association. So I'll go to the local association and put it in here, and typically it'll bring up the local chapters. Here's Greater Orlando. Just seeing which ones are available, and then I just get on there and dig around, and the conversation's very easy. I buy lots substantially below market, and I pass on the savings to my builders. Is there someone there that's in charge of your land acquisition that I could talk to, so when I have some properties, I might be able to share them? And it's worked very well. And then you develop a relationship with them, and you can go ahead into the appraiser's website, and maybe where it had Wetterman Builders, I'd put Wetterman Builders in the appraiser's website, and I can see how many properties they own, how many vacant lots they own, and get an idea of what type of volume they're doing. Or I could go to the recorder's website, and I could put in one of the builders I work with is Grand Builders. So now I'm in the recorder.
You're not sharing anything. I don't know.
Oh, sorry.
I see it.
Okay. I need that insight, but Grand Builders is one of the builders I work with. So I went to the recorder's website, and I just put in Grand Builders, and I can see he may not still own these properties, but I can see a list of transactions. So I can see that he's a very active builder, and I can sort by date. So I can see this is Anton, and I can see the properties that Anton's developing right here. So to recap, I go to the National Association of Home Builders. Go back a page. National Association of Home Builders, that's my starting point. And go to local chapters. And then just put in my market that I'm looking for. And when I did that, we brought up, I think it was Orlando here, Greater Orlando Builders Association. And when I did that, initially, I went to the directory, I found builders, and there's 137 of them right here. And then if you ended up working with 10% of them, there would be 13 potential clients that you could sell properties to. And then I went to the recorder's site and I typed in their name, and I can see anything, any public record transaction that's happened in their name. It could be a mortgage, it could be notice of commencement. They're starting on a property. And I could also take grand builders here. And my next step I went to the appraiser's website, and I can see what they currently own. I put in grand builders, and when I did that, these are all the properties that Anton at Grand Builders currently owns. And so I can get an idea of what size, what are the sizes of the properties, what are the assessed values. I can see what he's paying for them. And this one here for 80,000, we sold this property to Anton right there. So National Association of Home Builders, find some of the builders. I go to the recorder's office, pull up everything in Grand Builder's name. I take his name to see what he currently owns and put Grand Builders in the appraiser site. And I can see Anton's got, I don't know, about 12 properties here, plus or minus. And I can sort by date and see, is he currently active? So the last ones he bought were 2022, 2022. Did that help at all?
Yeah, it helped a lot. Do you have this is great if I can get this kind of information from the appraiser's site, but do you have a rule of thumb of what they're paying for a lot given the sale price of the home?
I haven't used that equation. Some people will say 20% or what have you, but what I can see, I don't have the sales prices of the homes, but I know exactly what they're paying for lots. I can see.
Yeah, this is way better.
Yeah, I can zoom in on one of these right here. We'll just go ahead and click on one. When I do that, here's the appraiser record. I can see, okay, it was assessed at $7,000. He paid about double. I can see the size of the lot. I can see how it's zoned. Quite a bit of information here. So I think it's even better than a percentage of the house price. This is exactly what they paid for the lots right here.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can download this too. Grid data, mailing list data. And I found him, I was just driving down the street and this guy's out there building a house. And I just pulled over and asked him, are you the contractor? And he said, yes. And we introduced each other. And I think I've sold him 7 lots, I believe, to Anton just from driving and introduced. And my conversation was, we introduced each other and I said, I buy lots substantially below market and I pass on my savings to the builders. Is that something you might be interested in? It's very casual. It's very non-threatening, but basically asking him, would you like me to be your free sales guy and bring you great deals below market? So
That's great. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else that you're working on or you need help with?
I have a rural acreage property in Virginia. I don't know if you really look at that kind of stuff. This is definitely not infill. This is more rural.
Yeah, I'm here. I personally don't do those type of properties, but I know how to research those type of properties.
Okay, I'll put the adjacent address in the chat here.
Okay. Come on, copy and paste. So this is property that's adjacent to yours.
Yeah, so the property that I'm looking at is to the west. There are two parcels totaling 82 acres.
Would it be
And
number 3 here?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that's too far. Let's see, who's the owner? Oh, yeah, that's it. Quinn.
Okay. Mitchell Quinn. They don't live in the same zip code. And I'm seeing, is it 52 acres?
Yeah, and there's another 30.
Okay.
So the total's 82.
So I'm just gathering information. I'm looking at, this is an indicator, market value, assessed value. I don't know how long they've owned it, but I just like to see what's available. And I like to click on linked properties and see, are they professionals or are they amateurs? But they do have a few other properties, vacant land, and their house. And a lot of times I like to look at equity to see maybe they've got $1 million of equity, then I've got an indicator they might not be as motivated. And if I'm looking for comps, here's comparables and listings, and it looks like pretty rural, and you've got 50-acre properties, so there might not be a lot of comps. So when I ran that, there aren't. So the next thing that I do is go 24088. Just clear everything out. And when I have a property, there aren't a lot of comps. I can either expand my parameters or go back further in time. So now to these 3,600 properties, let's just sort by vacant land. And now there's 1,500. Probably the next thing that I would do is sort by acreage. So this is in square feet. So 10 acres would be 430,000 square feet. So now I've got 588, and I'm just getting an idea. And if I knew exactly where it was on the map, I could zoom into a specific market area. But here I'm going to stay pretty general. And let's just say, show me the people, owner information. Show me the people that own for a maximum of 2 years. I'm just trying to find properties that may be comparables that transferred recently. So now I've got 39. If I wanted to, if I only had 2 here, I would just stick with my parameters. If I have a whole bunch, maybe we want to get a little closer on lot size. But what I try to find is, what are properties selling for per acre in that area? And then if you can zoom in on that a little bit, is it level? Is it buildable? Is it flood zones? Is it wetlands? Does it have access? But right now I'm just trying to get an idea. And yours was on, I forgot what street?
Griffith Hill Road or
Okay, and
Triggerton
sometimes
Road.
I'll look here just to see if there's anything on the street here. And when you get rural, a lot of them just have no street address. So I could go ahead and download this. For an example, we'll just click on some of these. This one's 10 acres right here. It sold for $4,500 an acre. And I'm just gathering information and seeing what's a range that these are selling for. This one, this is, I don't know, about 13 acres. I can look at the parcel and see if it has road access. They bought it a year ago and it sold for about $4,000 an acre. So I've got 4,000, I've got 4,500. Again, here's another one here. It is 12 acres. This sold for 10,000 an acre. So now I've got approximately 5,000 to 10,000 an acre. But I want to look at what's affecting the value. Does he have road access? This one may be cleared. Maybe yours is all wooded. And so gathering as much information as I can, then the next thing that I would do, out of these 39, and the answer might be 0, but which one sold on the multiple listing? Show all, put sold. And now I've got 8 properties here that sold on the multiple listing. A lot of people now just want to run everything on the computer and not talk to anyone. But here, what I would do is just click on one of these and click on MLS details. And now here is an agent's name, phone number. You probably have to Google, here's a company. You'd probably have to Google it to get the phone number. And what I asked them, I just tell them, my name is Michael Robertson. I see you sold the property on Thompson Ridge. And I'm looking at buying a property very similar to yours. Yours is 15 acres, mine's 30 acres. And you may want to share the link, the appraiser link with them or not. And just say, if I was to list this with you and I want to sell it in 90 days or less, what do you think we should list it for? And they'll typically help you because they're interested in getting a listing. But what they've done, this one I think might have a house on it here. What they've done, they've already worked in that market right there. And considering it may be way out of the area from where you are, sometimes that local information is very good. So here's another one here. These people bought more than one property right here. And then I would use Redfin, Zillow. I'd talk to local realtors and PropStream. And if this number's too small, what I could do, go back to filters, go back to ownership information. And I went back 2 years. Sometimes I might need to go back 5 years. The values have changed, but I've got now, instead of 8 people, I've got 19 people I can talk to. So when I don't have good comps that are recent, I'll go back in time or I'll go further away. But the sales are the sales. There's only so much information available, and we have to do our best to determine the value based on that. Did that
Yeah,
help at all?
this is a difficult area. It's pretty there, the sales are pretty sparse.
Yeah, and that's what happens. You get large acreage and you get more rural. Your buyer pool is a lot smaller too. So typically there are a lot fewer properties similar to yours to sell, and there's a lot fewer buyers that want them. And as a result, the comparables are real hard. And that's why I like to find what's sold on the MLS, or we could also do MLS instead of what's sold. Let's get rid of that. Let's find out what's currently active. And look, none. So I would go ahead and I'd search sold, but we can also search what's active. And we could also, if we wanted to, get rid of that and show me what failed. The reason they failed is because they are probably listed too high or there's something wrong with the property. So it's just a big funnel. I want to gather all the information, put it in the funnel, and I want to keep filtering until I can get what's most similar to mine, the best way that it can help me make a decision.
Yeah, that's good.
And then I would also ask not the homeowner, but the property owner, what is your estimate of value? And they're going to tell you. And I said, can you tell me what is that based on? And maybe they had a good comparable, or it's based on about it 10 years ago and it's gone up 5% a year, so it's worth this. Then I know they really don't have an indicator. And the other thing that I'd look at is let's find out what this property sold for. And it sold for $55,000. Oh, excuse me. It sold for $39,000. And then if I don't have good comps, I'll say, okay, here's the sales price and here's the assessed value. And it varies widely by market, but in Pensacola where I am, if it's typically assessed at 10,000, it sells for about 20,000. I know they're selling for about double assessed value. But if I didn't have any comps and I know everything's selling for about double assessed value and mine's assessed at $10,000, I can make an assumption that it may be worth approximately $20,000, and that might be a starting point for me. So using the assessed value, we could build a list. We had 39 properties or whatever it was, and we could go ahead. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. Get rid of this. And we had, say, 99 properties. And let me get back to my filters. 99 properties they've owned for 5 years. Let's change that back to 2. And we still have our acreage size in there. And I've got 39 properties that have sold in the last 2 years that are 10 acres or larger. I could look at all these, all 39 of them, look at the assessed value on all of them. I could look at the assessed value on all of them, and I could look at the sales price on all of them. And I'm just building a ratio between assessed value and sales price. And that's a technique that I'll use when I really don't have any comps.
Yeah, I was doing similar, but using Zillow. And I think that he's basing his asking price on Zillow solds. And I'm thinking the assessed value is basically $1,000 an acre less. That's probably my max, but that's
Yeah.
an 80,000 spread. So that's,
If you wanted to, you don't want to pay cash for them, do you?
if the price is right.
Okay. Okay. Some people will say, no, I'm only doing assignments or double closes. If I was going to pay cash, then I would want to negotiate a very favorable sales price. If I'm going to do an assumption or double close, I'm a little bit more flexible on the sales price. But you could also ask him, would he consider entertaining an offer doing owner financing? So what do you plan on doing with it?
I want to flip it, but so it's all gravel road frontage, but there's one of the lots is split by a gravel road. So I could potentially subdivide that. And then out of the total of 82 acres, if I could do that, it would be between 2 and 3 different properties.
Oh,
So probably sell them individually.
yeah. And one of the first things I'd do is reach out to the neighbors and potentially try to sell it to them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think he's probably, this is one of those leads that's probably going to take some nurturing because if he really wants full MLS for it, full retail, that's,
Yeah. I'd find out a little bit more about his situation. How long's he owned it? How old is he? Why does he want to sell? And then the
he's
other thing,
inherited it. It's actually not even in his name, so there has to be an affidavit of heirship according to him.
okay,
He and his brother own it or inherited it, and his brother just wants to get out of it. So the guy I'm talking to has been paying the taxes and he's starting to clean it up a little bit. I think there's an old trailer on there and that sort of thing.
yeah. And do they live near the property or no?
I think it's a bit of a hike to get there to clean it up, so not easy.
I think this was yours here.
Yeah, that's it.
And I'm trying to look at, it's assessed at about 1,000. Oh, this is just one of the properties. I think I'm looking at the 52 acre one. So it's assessed at about $1,500 an acre. I would look at how, maybe it'll show how much the taxes are here. They're pretty low, actually. So the taxes aren't strangling them. It's not like they're $10,000 a year or something.
Yes, exactly. Changes the motivation.
It may take, I'm looking at the assessed value, their motivation. The other thing that I would do is, and we can do it now if you want, it's up to you. But what I like to do is do a background on them and find out a little bit more about their situation. You want me to do that?
Sure.
Okay. The last name Quinn. Is it mid?
Yeah, his first name is Matt.
Okay. It's going to send me an email just so I can log in here. So bear with me. Let me close some of these. Raphael.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, when you joined yesterday, you should have got an email to join this private Facebook group right here.
I did.
Okay, I'll just look for that request and I'll go ahead and approve that shortly.
Yeah, it is approved. Somebody did.
Okay, okay. Yeah, probably my wife. Okay, we're doing a background check here. And this is just, this tool's good. It's not perfect, but it helps me. I like to use it before I make an offer. Matt, did you say?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. Pardon me?
Yes,
Okay, what city? Either one, the property or where he resides now.
they're
Yeah, I probably have it. Is it
yeah.
Lynchburg?
Oh, whoops. Probably yes. Let me.
All right,
Yeah,
we'll go with that.
Lynchburg. Yeah.
Okay, here he is right here. So real quick, we know he's 48. Here's his cell phone. We can see he's married, he's got children, but I look, he's got liens. So I can click on this and it may be a nothing lien, but it may be significant. So I can see what his liens are. I'm not sure if I can get the specific detail on it. A lot of times there'll be a dollar amount here, but I probably could go to maybe to the recorder's office and put his name in here and get some more specific information. But these are recent here, but I also see criminal history. And this could just be a speeding ticket, or it could be a lot worse. But here's following too close, expired registration, speeding. He's not a good driver. Sometimes these are felonies, worthless check, worthless check. These are 20 years ago, so it's probably not significant. But I just like to understand that. And sometimes it's forgery, bad checks, and I get an idea of the situation. And I could put other relatives. Is Ronnie his brother?
That's his. Yeah, I guess that must be his brother,
So then
given
we
the
go to
age.
him. And he's 50. Here's some phone numbers and what have you, emails, other addresses, liens, also has liens, criminal infraction. And so I want to know who I'm dealing with. Here, felony, probation violation, probation violation, probation violation. These are all recent.
Oh, meth. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
so
Wow.
then I know, okay, I'm dealing with not the ideal citizen. And that tool probably cost $3 or $4 what I did, but that affected my offer price. Because I'm understanding the situation, it's going to affect my offer price. And so a tool like that, maybe your offer price now is $5,000 lower. So I want to do that. I want to go into the county recorder's office. I want to put their names in and see everything else that's there. So like when I put in the recorder's office, I think I put in Grand Builders. And when I did that, I could find everything that's recorded in the name here. If I put in Ronnie Quinn, I'm going to find out everything in the county that's recorded in his name. And now you're doing your due diligence on the property, but due diligence on the people. And that right there will make you thousands of dollars.
Yeah, that's a great reminder.
Yeah. You know, sometimes there's nothing there, or there's code enforcement liens on the property, just different things. So our advantage is we're better at the information than the sellers. We're better at the information than the buyers. And I don't know anyone else that does this type of research. I'm sure there are a few people out there that do that, but it just gives you an advantage.
In Escambia, do you pull code enforcement lists directly from the county?
I tried, and every county is going to be different. Some will provide you with the actual list of code enforcement liens, but what I learned was a code enforcement lien where I am, and it's just from getting in here and playing around, and I can put liens, and I can go clear this, but there's one for code enforcement liens. It's CCO, certified cost order, and that's just from getting in there, spending an hour, 2 hours on here, and I submit it. I got to go by document type. Is a lien. I'm going to clear this, and CCO is a certified cost order, which is basically a code enforcement lien. So it's a little bit more one at a time, but all these people have code enforcement liens right here. So if I click on one of these, and this one's been released, but this one was $1,200, but sometimes I'll pull these up and they're $30,000, $100,000, and some are released and some are still active. But this one was released, but to get an idea, this one was $22,000. And what I can't get released or relieved of is the abatement fees. That has to be paid, but I can get daily fines waived. But typically abatement fees might be $5,000 and daily fines might be $20,000. There's a way to get the $20,000 released. And so we make profit off of code enforcement liens just by getting them released.
That's great. And you can download that as a spreadsheet, right?
Yeah, it's all right. It's all wherever it is here, you know, how I want to download it. And there's a way to look for land too, just because just getting in here and playing around. Now I'm going to put consideration. I'm just going to put in $219. And this is going back some time. But if someone didn't, 219 to 219, this is like when the county had to go out and mow the lawn. And this is in the city of Pensacola. And all these, you can see it says lot, it doesn't have an address. All these are vacant land. And this one was released, but it was $219. Sometimes I'll find a property and they don't have one $219 lien. They have 20 of them on here. So it's just another way of doing it. So the sites I like to use the county recorder's website, the appraiser's website, back taxes website, which I can pull a list here. And I can also pull a list of tax deed sales. We were speaking earlier, if I want to do a deal now, I'm typically looking for properties that are going to go to sale soon. So if I go to March, the redeemed ones, they all paid their delinquencies. But this one here, $1,785. You have to filter through these to find out if they're vacant land or not. But sometimes the lower dollar ones are vacant land. Or in the far right column here, if it says BLK for block, and it's just by understanding how a county works, like no address here. I'm going to go ahead and click that. It probably means that it's vacant land. See, there's land value. There's no improvement value. So here, if it hasn't been redeemed, these people right here have to pay the $1,700 by March 5th, or they're going to lose their property or sell it to someone like us. So if I wanted to go after this one, if it was a property that made sense, right here, Jonathan right here, he's going to lose this property. And I would look at it and see if it's one that I like. I would look at the value of it. I can see what they paid for it, run comps, and then I can skip trace how we did with Mr. Quinn. And I can be on the phone like Mr. Quinn. Here's his phone number right there. I can be on the phone with these people. I could call Ronnie right now and talk to him about his property.
That's great.
Yeah, hopefully that was helpful. Raphael, hopefully that was helpful. We've got a Zoom session tonight at 6 p.m. Same link that you clicked on, and it's going to be with Jesse Kwong, who owns the software Pebble, and that's a tool that will help you automate your business and scale your business. So that should be a good session as well, and it will be recorded as well.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys, but I'll be back here in 4.5 hours.
Okay. Thanks a
All
lot.
right.
Appreciate
All right.
it.
Thank you very much.
Bye.